Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens affect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today again on Mean Street News. We're starting up season 2. I'm so excited. I missed all of you since June. I have been crazy busy and I have been doing a lot. So I'm excited to get this season going and discuss with you guys what I have been learning. It's kind of wild and it's been fun. I've done a little bit of stuff in my county. I've done a little bit of stuff at the state in regards to my HB8 Parents' Bill of Rights and Education. I am working on putting together my education ESSER funds and SEL and going over the globalization of education framework, which I'm really excited to be releasing in the next couple weeks for all of you. I wanted to come on here right before the new year, though, and just kind of recap what I figured out over the last 4 episodes and kind of put it all together. Maybe not so much the last one. We'll touch base on that, but I want to, recap, put a timeline together for you guys, and then we're going to be expanding on it in the new year. So it will be very exciting. Today, we're going to start talking about Miss Tori Maris. Me and her got into another little tiff the other week. I decided I was bored. I sent on to Facebook and saw that she was live. So I decided to just kind of ask her a couple questions about her sister. And of course, I'm beating a dead horse there with her. She doesn't want to answer. And she called me a demon like usual and, the same grifter stuff. So I wanted to start in the beginning. I was never into politics. I was just a mom, as a lot of Miss Maris likes to say, not a lot of people, but a couple people have said that to me, like, you're just a housewife. Well, I've done other stuff, and housewives are really smart. But September 2021, my daughter was quarantined for the sniffles. She had allergies, and her school decided to play doctor and decided to quarantine her. When they were quarantining her, I ran into 2 gentlemen, Joe and Eric. And Joe happened to be both Cepheus Bones in Tori Maris's group, New Ohio, on Telegram, and kind of run all of her channels. So I got added into that group by Joe, who lived in my community, was attending board meetings and fighting the COVID measures, which was great. New Ohio was first it seemed to be like a research hub. People were like just kind of dipping their toes into the political arena. I never really listened to Tori's podcast. Like I said, the only reason I was in New Ohio was because of Joe, and I kind of me and his brother helped him kind of organize and get some stuff going in a very short time. So this is September of 2021. By April of 22, we were leaving New Ohio. New Ohio had turned into like a campaign for Tori Maris's Secretary of State run, which I didn't really want to be a part of. she was adamantly going after, just the GOP in general. She was kind of toxic. So, and that whole group was very toxic, very, your infiltrators and weirdness and super spy stuff. And I wasn't really for it. We didn't really need them. So we decided, we'll be cool with you guys, but we're going to go our own separate way here. And that, of course, turned into nonsense. So to keep me on track, though, I made a PowerPoint. So I want to share. I'm sorry if I'm going to say I'm old. Well, I'm not as old as Tori Maris, but I'm old. I got to share my screen here. And I am going to open this PowerPoint. I know you guys will be so happy that I'm not just jumping around here. We're going to hit play. Okay. And I'm going to stay in your screen just so you guys feel like I am a part of this with you, I guess. Okay. I don't like it there. We'll do it here. All right. I'm still new at this whole like screen sharing and talking at the same time. And we're going to see how this goes. But I'm really excited to be here. I want to really get this all kind of timelined out, because there's going to be so much more that I'm adding to, and I want to put those last episodes of the last season into kind of perspective, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, especially in Congress, that has to do with what I'm talking about with Tori's sister, and I'm going to connect that dot here. So all the things. The first is May 6th. I had reached out to Tori's campaign manager because, I was just kind of confused on what they were thinking of doing with Grow, which I'm not in anymore, but I just was kind of confused and what that merger was going to look like. So I had messaged Tori's campaign manager, Nick, and here are those messages for all of you to read if you really want to. Then this is when we broke up. For those of you that can't see what I'm sharing, this is when New Ohio left us. And really, this is what it says. The demands of a leadership role as campaign manager fell to Nick Sagnest. He stepped up for Tori in Ohio. As everything in our lives, we all only have so much bandwidth in the thick of the fuckery of the primary ballot struggle. Bocephus voices feelings that in Tori's home base of New Ohio, other areas like calls to action, prayer chats, and other New Ohio issues were being neglected for the state mayors of Ohio. That grievance appeared legitimate. And then they go into how, Joe was just overwhelmed, and then we decided to, his brother, Mr. Know-It-All, decided to create Grow, and now it's just this huge thing. And if you want to stay with New Ohio, you can stay with New Ohio. If you want to go with Grow, you go with Grow, but you pick one or the other. All of this, and regardless, leads up to June 18th. June 18th, there was an event held in Avon, Ohio. Those of you that can see this, you'll see right here. Does your vote count by Ohio Precinct Strategy? Laura Logan was hosting, I believe, with Hava Laudon of Ohio Precinct Strategy. And her picture is here as well. Sorry for those of you that can't see. And they had speakers, Mark Cook, which is here to the left, technology and communications, what you need to know. I wasn't there for that. I really showed up at Understanding Generation Warfare. It was about 1:00 in the afternoon. I wasn't even going to go to this thing. But a friend of mine talked me into it, and thank you for that. When I showed up to this event, I didn't see Tori. I saw some, regular people that I always see at every event in Ohio, and Northern Ohio at least, that were running. And I believe Neil Peterson was there, Mark Bakita was there, Gene Anderson was there, who was meeting there. But I went and sat down, and then this guy started talking about generation warfare. That ended. And then this guy, Steve Hertzberg, stands up and he starts talking about how he was a part of the audit in Cuyahoga County back in the early 2000s. He really kind of pressed on getting to know your local officials and approaching elections in a bipartisan manner. Whatever. During this time, I'm sitting at my table and I look over, and where I'm sitting, I really wish I could do a map of this. Where I'm sitting is I'm in between where Tori Maris is standing and Laura Logan and Hava Laudon's table. Okay. I see Laura, as Steve Hertzberg is talking, look over at Tori Maris. Tori Maris looked back at her. It was like kind of like a cue. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Because I'm already floored that I'm looking over at Tori Maris, and this is June 18th. Everything with Grow in New Ohio was going on at the end of May. And I haven't seen this chick in person since. And I'm like, oh, of course she's here, because I had walked in this room previously when they were all eating lunch and I didn't see her anywhere. Nor did I see her come in during that other speech. So I don't know where she popped up out of, but I see them, communicating somehow between each other. Tori interrupts the speaker, Steve Hertzberg, asks him some question. I can't even hear it because I have a clip of it, but Ohio Precinct Strategy muted what Tori said, and all you can hear is Hava and Steve, where he gets upset. And just basically says, if you guys bring in all this crazy nonsense, you're not gonna get anywhere. After this, really quickly after this happened, this exchange, the venue was shut down. They were already running over their time. There's a wedding going on. They're like, get the F out of here. You know what I mean? So I see Tori standing in the back of the room, and decided I was going to approach her and ask her why, someone who has a podcast that is promoting grassroots initiatives, promoting getting involved on your local level, would then give people, grown people, by the way, an ultimatum on what they can do, and who they can associate with based on their affiliation with New Ohio and Tori Maris, which I thought was insane, because regardless if you're with me or you want to take suggestions from me or not, I'm going to tell you, go everywhere, meet everybody, do everything, do all the things. Just don't sit there and listen to one person in your county, because it's county control. And that's where, that's where we're going to get control back. So me and her have this exchange, June 18th event. I'm going to actually play a couple clips from it here shortly, but it's the people that are there. Okay. This is what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on Laura Logan, Mark Cook, Hava Laudon, and Tori Maris, because they're going to connect again. This is when Tori started talking to me about me on her podcast, because she got quite upset about me confronting her. But I do want to play a clip before I go forward of Tori saying on June 18th, after she left that event, while she's going off on her rant about me, she brings up that she knows Laura and has known Laura. I'm just going to play that right here.
Great. So this event was pretty cool. I got to see a lot of stuff in person. Obviously, it was great seeing Lara, but it was great seeing Steve after so many years. The first time I saw Lara and we met, but we didn't, I mean, we did talk, was in Iraq a very, very, very long
time. Okay. So last time Tori Maris claimed she saw Laura Logan was Iraq. And I'm not saying that it's true. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying Keep that in mind, right? And write myself a note so I don't forget something. Okay. Let's move forward. So June 18th event, I'm going to just play a quick clip because most of you have heard that, and no offense, her voice after a little bit just kind of grinds my, I like that saying, it's from Family Guy, grinds my gears. So I wanted to start at 57.
In my face, like when I'm telling you in my face, she was like, within the state groups. And I think I voiced them to these 5 state groups where I like took out all the admins and then they had to vote their own people in so that way I didn't have to do anything anymore. It's because you have people like this lady who literally came up in my face. Like when I'm telling you in my face, she was like all up in me during the event, raising she was really, really aggressive. And I could feel her literally when I was getting coffee and talking with Steve. And so as I was getting the coffee,
as we all know, she was not talking to Steve. She was eavesdropping on Steve's conversation with whoever, I think it was Yvonne that was standing next, some lady with the, at the event that was helping. I ran into her when I walked in, but she was eavesdropping. When I walked up to Tori, the first thing that I said to Tori, just to be clear on that June 18th event, is, do you know who I am? Because I've met Tori previously, and I'm not some crazy lady that is just going to go up and confront somebody that doesn't A, remember me, or B, know me. Just not that person. Not at all. But apparently, this one, I razzled her.
She comes up, she's like, Tori, why are you telling people not to join my group? And I'm like, who are you again? What group? I don't understand your organization. Because I have no idea what the fuck it is, right? And months ago, in fact, if I remember correctly, someone in Ohio had told me about it. And I was like, well, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so that are in that group are extremists. This is me talking. I didn't say that because I'm not going to sit there.
This is me talking. I didn't say that because I'm not going to sit there, but this is me talking right now. So did you say it or did you not say it? Because you're double speaking right now. And I absolutely hate when people do that.
And put anyone on the fucking no-fly list, right?
Like you have that power.
Very racist. And they have done very aggressive things. So I was like, oh, thanks for asking. I was like, well, people can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to go that route, they can. Now, I don't know for what reason this woman's like, oh, you told them not to join. I didn't tell anybody anything, right? I just said, I don't know them, right? And people can decide for themselves. That's what I said. I don't manage shit in the state groups. So I don't know why anyone would say, you're kicking people out. I'm not kicking anybody the fuck out. The people are kicking people out. I have no business in those groups, right? But it's reasons like this. This is the problem that we have in groups. People think they know how to do shit better. Then a collective, they have a better idea, right? So what they do is they tell you, well, like she told me, good luck on your stupid letters and lawsuits. We're going to get using aggression. You're not with the Republican Party. Not. Have you seen the Republican Party in the state of Ohio?
For one, nobody said like you're not with the Republican Party, so I'm not messing with you. No, I said you're a problem to be associated with you if I'm trying to, get into the Republican Party. And no offense, Tori tried to run on the Republican ticket. She got kicked off the ballot. And, her little insider friends, and I'm not saying she did this, but her little insider friends that were with her that day said that she removed the top sheet of the individual counties for her declaration page. She removed the top sheet. Well, that's the declaration for each specific county because she said she only needed one. Well, that's bullshit. So basically to me, it's like self-sabotage. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just leave them on? They already had all the paperwork done for you. Why would you even mess with it when you got there that day to file? So, and then to then be like, oh, fuck the Republican Party, but I tried to run as a Republican. I mean, it's stupid. And Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't at this point, especially in Ohio. I mean, DeWine, who's a Republican, just shot down HB 68. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It was like the most insane thing I had ever seen. And this is what makes me nervous when extremists get.
Do you know what makes her nervous? Is when people actually confront her on her lies, when people actually question what she's doing. I've been dealing with Tori for almost 2021, 22, 23, and we're going into 20. So 2 years going on 3. She is threatening me with the feds. She is threatening me with, I have you on a watch list. I know I'm a super spy and I'm going to come get you. And I'm still sitting here, still screaming about our UN sister. DC sister, because I think she is more of the interesting person in this whole thing than Tori. Tori is an actor. Tori is full of it. And that's pretty much what happened that day. So she goes on, she threatens me. She calls me the crazy lady in the sunglasses, whoop-de-whoop. You know what I mean? I don't know her. I know her, blah, blah, blah. Moving on. So I move on from this event. I'm doing other things. I'm slowly kind of researching Tori, but one day somebody reaches out to me and says, that I knew from Erie County, and I will forever be grateful to this woman. She said, have you ever heard of that Tori had a sister? No, I never really looked into Tori like that. I never even thought to. And she's like, you might want to. I heard she's a professor in New York, and just Googling her a little bit, background's really interesting. Ding, ding, ding. So I start Googling the ish out of Tori's family. I pulled a background report on Tori and I start, deep diving, and the sister got me. And the reason I focus so much on her sister is because of her sister's background. And I mean, legitimate background, published author, not some super secret hidden, because I was in some super spy program thing. But it's also the content of what she writes and how she writes it. And there's a couple of articles I'm gonna go over specifically that I think everybody needs to read, because I think it is astonishing that one person has kind of put this infrastructure together, and that has been a part of the military industrial complex since 2001, even beforehand, but was an intricate, part of the planning of the war on terror. I mean, this woman, Marie Helen Maris, is a U.S. Navy veteran. I want to preface this with this. I support our troops. I support our military men. I have friends that have fought in that war. I have friends that have been blown up. I have the utmost respect for individuals that have fought for our country. Now, here's the but. This is the war machine. These are warmongers. These are I feel like dangerous people within the military industrial complex that are leading a global initiative for a communist like state. The best I can say it without sounding like an Alex Jones crazy person. Because I think, those types of people are out there on purpose to make the right look crazy, to make us all look like, tin hat conspiracy theorists, when some of it's true. It's a counter psychological operation. Like, let's just be real. I mean, the people that are running this are a part of that. But Marie Maris, works for the Department of Security and Fire and Emergency Management, John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City. She's a member of the United Nations. She wrote a book on counterterrorism, computer forensics, and cyber criminal laws and evidence. There's an article she wrote, When a Smart Toaster Can Become an Alibi. Algorithms and terrorism, Twitter, think Twitter, algorithms and terrorism, don't think, terrorism in the sense that we think terrorism is how the left is portraying terrorism right now, domestic. It's time to treat data protection as a national security issue, April 25th, 22, an article she wrote. Computer forensic again, she wrote, their college textbooks, the Encyclopedia of Security and Emergency Management, all of this COVID stuff is coming out through the Department of Homeland Security, Emergency Management, down to the county. Now you see county levels bringing in emergency management. Interesting. Transnational security. What is that? That is people moving across countries, across continents, people, things, macroeconomic level, and how they do that. The CRC press terrorism reader, Marie Helen Maris, multidisciplinary investigation of child maltreatment. Lauren Shapiro and Maria Helen Maris published that book, Exploring Criminal Justice. Robert Ringall, John Hewitt, and Marie Helen Maris, Cyber Criminology. She wrote that book as well, college course textbook. Now, I'm going to go over a few key articles that really stopped me. But before I do, I want to talk about why I immediately latched on to Maris. She spoke at a conference talking about terrorism in the ISIL and they are going to be using social media to propagate, their ideology and spread fear, right? But what was interesting in what she said in this conference and what was noted was, when you think of fear and you think of terrorism, people do stuff because they're afraid, and that's really powerful, right? But what's even more powerful, she said, is to create a hero, to create a person that is going to come in and save the day. She said people will follow a hero beyond anything that they fear because of that hope, because of that. And she, kind of referenced, using that in a way. Well, my mind directly then goes to, when I'm reading that of hers, these social media influencers that are, peddling the Smartmatics, election integrity stuff, not, I don't want to say bullshit because it's not bullshit, but it's bullshit because they're not telling you that it's all about your local control. They're not telling you anything about the funding. They're not telling you anything. They're telling you to write letters, like Tori said, like I said, to go write your letters. Yeah, because they're getting you on a red list. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? I said this to somebody I interviewed with is, what do you think is going to happen when all of these people write their senators and write their House reps constantly accusing them of crimes? They're gonna for one put them on a spam list. They're never gonna respond to you. You're giving them a reason never to respond to you, and they're putting a tag on you, on your name, of an extremist. And it's not a far-fetched idea. I mean, we see it in the news all the time now. Another article of Marie Helen Maris's that really caught me before I even tiptoe into the video was a data one. It was the political consequences of mass data retention. And in this, she referred to something called the directive. And then she's referring to how the EU, back in, I believe it was 2011, had passed a bill to basically take over their citizens' data privacy, like down to their email, right? And once it was enacted, it was immediately rescinded by the parliament after the citizens, I mean, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? They threw a fit, so they immediately rescinded it after that. But they have this huge plan on how to mass collect a population's data and emails and surveil you, a little bit like what went on with Snowden and all of that, you know, spying on Americans and the NSA, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and she keeps referring to this as a directive. Well, a directive is an order. A directive is something that you're looking at doing. So who is she talking about? Because it can't be the EU, since they're already, you know, implementing this. And who would the consequences be for? And then I think to the education stuff that I've looked at originally, which is why I got into all this anyway in the first place, and that framework for data retention and how they're going to use these algorithms and these data collection sets to against the people to profile you, to you know, put a tag on you as something that they feel is some kind of social construct. Is data retention directive a proportionate measure? It's another one of her articles. From targeted mass surveillance, the EU data retention directive, necessary measure, an unjustified threat to privacy. Inside Darknet, the takedown of Silk Road. Forensic Science, Encyclopedia of Law and Economics, I already said that one. Unprotected speech communicated via social media. What amounts to a true threat? Keep that one in mind. Strengthening counterterrorism from information of successful terrorist attack and failed missions in the United States. State intervention during public health emergency. Is the United States prepared for an Ebola outbreak? This is all Marie Helen Maris, okay? Internet of Things, IoT, Internet of Things, security and privacy implications. Combating cybercrime, dealing with barriers of international investigation and enforcement in cyberspace. Keep all of these in mind. The weaponization of Ebola, a new risk and wave of an outbreak. Overlooking forensic science, review of the 2014 International Protocol on Documentation and Investigation of Sexual Violence and Conflict. Social media platforms targeting the found space of terrorists. Online classified advertisement, pimps and facilitators of prostitution and sex trafficking. Child sex dolls and robots, more than just an uncanny valley. Sexual violence perpetrated against women in India. The role of forensic evidence, overcoming the intelligence sharing paradox, improving information sharing through change in an organizational culture. Trojan horse risks in the maritime transportation system sector. Internet luring of female victims, determining authenticity of video evidence in an age of artificial intelligence and in the wake of the deep fake videos. State of Ohio v. Ross, internet-enabled medical device data introduces evidence of an arson and an insurance fraud. Cybersecurity preparedness, Internet of Things, which scares the hell out of me. Internet of Things is internet of your life. You know what I mean? Your Apple Watch, your toaster, your fridge, your, like, what data can they collect on you? It's the internet of everything. Your car, you know, your Peloton bike, it's an Internet of Things, and it's hooked up to a centralized network. That's usually how that goes. understanding what it really takes to control your data, critical evaluation of FaceApp, forensic science encyclopedia, the SECI model of the darknet markets, discrimination, stigmatization, surveillance, COVID-19, and social sorting. The use of COVID-19 contact tracing app data as evidence of a crime, keeping the peace, evolution of the darknet, fentanyl markets. My biggest ones that I concentrated on was the terrorists and the data retention, because with this globalization of all of our information and the globalization, the centralization of all of our information that's happening on a state, local, and federal level in education and just overall bureaucracy, Department of Taxation, your digital ID that's rolled out in Ohio. That's a part of a bigger framework. Karen and I, discussed it last season under the backpack bill, where we're talking about, and I'll talk about more this year because I really want to get back into that, is, how they're basing this digital framework off of social determinants of health. And a lot of what Maris writes is very much aligned with that. And it's very much aligned with the ideologies of the World Health Organization, the WEF, and the people and the ideology of controlling a population via data. And it scares me. Now, what really, really got my attention with Marie Helen Maris, though, where I'm just like, she's not just an academic and she's not just a regular old Fed, was a video that I had found from the DVIDS, which is like the Department of Defense's like video glossary pretty much online. This video popped up. At the time that it popped up, the first time that I watched it, only had, I think, like 17 views. And I will say, in the last 2 years of me bitching about this video, I went on there to download the full thing to put it up on YouTube, and it had over 1,000 views. So as much as I might be a crazy person, people are watching that video. But you're going to listen to it or watch it too, because this is what really made me write these articles. So real quick, though, October 18th of 2022, I put out my first article on Tori Maris, Woman Behind the Curtain, Tori Maris or Marie Helen Maris on a Main Street Patriots site. It's before I had my website, and I really didn't know much about this blogging stuff and all this social media and creating like your website. I've done it before for my family's company, but not like, not like this. So this is before I post, and then this is the first post that kind of set her off. When I posted this, the people that I had started Grow with, I actually have it right here to the right, had messaged me and was pretty much like, this is actually where we got Mean Street. It's kind of funny. He said, "We actually care about you. Pretty confident from talking to you and interacting with you on multiple occasions. You do not care the same value out of our friendship." That's fine. But again, I didn't go to Mean Street Karen's page and post an article I knew would cause drama to my friend's page, which they're talking about Tori. When you're done sipping the evil tea and playing Rhino Goon, we will be around doing what you should be doing. Well, they should have been doing what I was doing. I pretty much told him, I said, whatever, shady is aligning with Tori. Fucking Maris, good luck. I've stated my course. You two jumped back in the fan club. All good. You two have tried to claim I'm shady without looking at your own actions. Good luck. At that point, this was in October, I was over it. You want her to, do that, treat people the way that she had treated people with the whole Grow thing. And then you go back to the fan club because I don't know, because apparently I was sharing everything I was finding about her sister and everything. They just apparently didn't care, or they just don't see what I see, which is fine. I still very much wish Joe and Eric the best, but this was just something that was that was said between us in October. But this is what caught my eye. This video that I'm talking about was in February of 2016. Now, keep in mind what's going on in February 2016. This is before Russiagate. This is before Crossfire Hurricane. This is before all of it, right? Twitter files, everything. Trump at the time was a candidate for the first time to be president of the United States. And Marie Helen Mayer says this debriefing. Now, the guise of this debriefing is to talk about the ISIL on Twitter and beheading videos and censoring those, right? 2016, I wasn't seeing Hamas videos all over Twitter or even online, period. You know what I mean? What I was seeing was a candidate for president on Twitter upsetting the status quo. What I did see was Americans speaking their minds on Twitter and it not being censored as much as it was after the pandemic. And, you know, certain people didn't like it. You know, call them deep state, call them bureaucracy, call them whatever. They didn't like it. So in 2016, February, before Trump was even elected in office, this chick sits down with the foreign press of the Department of Defense in New York City to debrief them on her studying of the social media issues. The biggest takeaway is right here.
I'm sorry.
You've been going to know from the social media some terrorist propaganda or any hate speech. What we're gonna do about Donald Trump? I mean, where we can stop that to remove that kind of hate speech or terrorizing people or radicalization. Where we can stop that? That's I couldn't get it. I mean, we have to be understanding which one is the hate speech, or we can go to remove from the social media. Which one is not?
So hate speech is also considered something that violates terms of services. So I think that what really is needed is to determine what delineates hate speech and what qualifies as hate speech to warrant removal. And that's something that we should be discussing with social media platforms. But what we're talking about today is ensuring that they enforce their own terms of services. I mean, why have rules of conduct on a particular platform if they're not going to be enforced? Right? So I think this is something that we should be discussing with them. But hate speech is primary. Hate speech has historically been prohibited in the sites. Terrorism is something new. They've actually recently updated their platforms to particularly mention terrorism.
Sorry, I'm just but then it raises the question of.
So she's saying the candidate for president of the United States can be removed by Twitter, and I don't know who we is, should be reaching out to these social media companies. Well, I do know who we is. She's going to talk about that shortly. Should be reaching out to these social media companies to censor a potential president, a candidate for president of the United States for hate speech because he was speaking out against the bureaucracy and the swamp and the deep state and all that nonsense. She has the gall to sit there and say we should let the social media companies censor a candidate for political office in 2016. Think Twitter files. People are in an uproar about 2020 and some EIP made right now, Election Integrity Partnership Agency. This is the woman in 2016 giving the foreign press the plan for your Twitter files. And we were already doing it. Twitter files goes back before this. And they were using our taxpayers to do it. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. But before I do that, this reporter then asked her, since she brings up terrorism, we're focused on terrorism right now. this woman kind of just, I think, shock and awe. I don't think Marie Helen Maris was expecting this, but I kind of love this woman asks about, you know, what do you mean terrorism's new?
But terrorism is nothing, it's not new. I mean, United States, particularly after 9/11, has imposed really very strict laws against anything. I mean, look at NSA. I mean, the government, collaborated with, with the telecommunication companies like Verizon, and and listen to the conversations. And anytime there's some kind of words are pronounced in the conversation, then some kind of machinery gets alerted and to listen to the conversations. And you have a government that actually has been supporting that kind of activities, which is questionable again. And on the other hand, you have the same government which cannot actually impose on those private companies like social media, Google, Facebook, Twitter, name it, and say, listen, you guys have to do something about it. I mean, so to me, it's just doesn't make sense. Or are we just going to sit and let things, unfold?
Think it again, Ms. Essex. What are you confused by?
I'm confused by the, that terrorism now is using social media more than ever.
Sure.
It's not something new. Al Qaeda was,
Sure.
using the same tool.
Yeah.
And if we go back to, before September 9/11 and, and afterwards, this country has taken a very, very harsh measurements to track down anybody who might have any affiliation with any terrorist
Sure.
organization, particularly Al Qaeda.
So,
I'm saying today they're faced with ISIS.
yeah.
And everything pretty much, takes place on social media, the recording,
Mhm.
the funding and so forth. And then in this country, this United States also used NSA to listen to the private conversations of their citizens.
Sure.
And I'm saying, why now it's so difficult to, utilize social media companies and track.
Why hasn't government clamped down on social
Yes.
media companies
Yes.
efficiently yet? Sure. What is the reason for that?
Well, the reason is because we're talking about the US. There are few acts now that would amount to something that violates the law. Incitement to violence, the communication of a true threat, providing material support to terrorism for a foreign terrorist organization. Those are the three things. If we were looking at another country, if we were looking at the UK, it would be the encouragement of terrorism, the dissemination of terrorist publications, right? But here, these few exceptions that exist are what we utilize in order to prosecute individuals who are engaging in these behaviors, utilizing these weapons.
ISIS is not too proactive yet in the United States compared to European countries.
No, some of the behaviors, for instance, the distribution, the existence of something online, for instance, or the expression of support for a particular group, that's not considered an illegal behavior in this country. I'm sorry.
What she means is we have a First Amendment. And I'm not supporting terrorism. However, the way the left looks at anything conservative now as domestic terrorism, which they have been, and that's what she's referring to, because ISIL was, like the reporter said, was not a thing, and we've been very harsh on terrorism to now be bringing it up. She means Donald Trump. They mean Donald Trump before he was even elected in 2016. And they already had this partnership with the social media companies. She wants to expand that partnership. That's the whole point of this. Expanding. Listen.
YouTube has taken down videos, Twitter, Facebook, right? They're already engaging in these practices. What we're saying is trying to make it more efficient.
Now, how would she make it more efficient? Well, she offers tax incentives. Oh, yeah, our tax dollars, tax incentives to do this. She also offers software. And then this word that just, I keep this little, not word, but this phrase that keeps coming up in the air: public-private partnership. Public-private partnership, but the American people cannot know, because if the American people know about this public-private partnership with the social media companies and the government or private entities, American people aren't going to have it, which we've been seeing the outcome of this public-private partnership in the Twitter files, in the Congress, everywhere. Me being censored, anybody being censored in America.
Oh, I'm sorry. YouTube has.
This one I wanted to highlight on before I go to the next video clip of her. Miss Maris, this is talking more in regards to the Twitter files, okay? This is something that obviously needs to be discussed with a global platform. Currently, what this platform does, especially because it conducts business in a multitude of countries, it provides them with the ability to request for content to be blocked or removed in particular areas, okay? And our social media platforms are actually providing us with information. This is in 2016 on how many requests have been accepted, how many requests have been denied, and the reason for this denial. So social media companies have been providing the Department of Defense reports for what's been taken down, what's been left up. So she knows exactly what the terror threat is for the ISIL on social media at that moment. I'm surprised she doesn't quote it at all if it's such a big threat. They've also withheld information from particular individuals within a country that violated that country's laws. The ultimate decision, however, relied on the social media platforms. So what she's saying there is the government influences this. They request this, but because the ultimate decision is the social media companies, it's on them. But the social media companies are being pressured by governments to censor information. How do you think that is going? Question from a reporter. Just a footnote. 3 days ago, I wrote a story based on Bloomberg interview with one of the advisors to the Russian President Putin, that German Klemenko, who is in charge of the internet in Russia, and told an interesting thing, that not a single request from Russian law enforcement agencies to Google was answered. Question from the Russian services. What kind of request? Not a single request to remove or explain the outlawed, that type of information. For example, Chechen separatists, those kind of things. Question, I'm not quite sure. Telling what it was. Chechen, as far as I remember, if memory serves, Marie, the quotation was something like that the U.S. law enforcement usually ask Google and Facebook and others to provide to remove content on 32,000 cases a year, something like that. But not a single Russian request was taken into account. That's it. Maris, that's not what I saw in the transparency reports. 2016, transparency reports through the request. Have you taken a look at the reports that they provide on a biannual basis on the social media platforms? No. I'm just quoting what because the platforms, and Maris interrupts him, because the platforms, they provide a percentage. They also provide whether certain content was provided or a portion of it, what was requested and under what circumstance. And there's rates at the bottom that will let you know which ones have been acted on and the reason for it, and it's worth taking a look at. That's interesting. So Russia asked Google, Facebook, Twitter to take down some content. We're worried about, terrorism, this, that, and other thing. Not one request, according to Klemenko's and the Russian person in charge of the internet, was answered by these agencies. I wonder why in 2016. So we're going to incentivize social media companies to censor Americans. Let's see. Doing what?
Tax breaks for Facebook and Twitter to be doing the enforcement for us.
I think it's not for us. Again, all we're doing is requesting that they proactively enforce their own terms of services.
But the taxpayers paying to do it. for the unlimited?
The other alternative is to legislate for this, but I do feel that we have to keep in mind that these are businesses as well when we're requesting all of these new security applications. And there are a lot of things that they're dealing with. Child pornography, making sure that that's not on their site. Digital copyrighted works. We keep adding more functions, more security oriented functions, and we need to make sure that we realize that they are a business. This is why they do what they can do, but to a limited extent.
Sorry, just that's this, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. What do you guys think about that? Just more of the same CYA, cover your ass type deals? Mr. Schellenberg, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm mixed between it being sinister and comedic.
What about you, Mr. Chenoweth?
I think that there's a misimpression on the part of some of these individuals that if they act through third parties, that they're not violating the First Amendment. They're wrong about that, but they're not all lawyers. I get that. But they need to understand that they are blatantly violating the First Amendment when they work through third parties to achieve censorship.
Mr. Abdi, do you have anything to add?
No, that gentleman, this is a hearing from this last month in the Senate that I clipped onto the back end of what Maris was saying in 2016, because they're talking about EIP, an election integrity project that was set up to facilitate this with social media companies in 2020. How is the Department of Defense setting up a public getting these people together, saying that you guys need to create a public-private partnership to work with the government, companies, and social media companies, and we're going to incentivize them with programs, staff, probably Twitter staff, FBI, and tax dollars to get this done and help them, censor. We'll request it, but, as long as the social media companies or this third party agency, EIP, does it for the government, it's not really us doing it. Cover your ass, because they're clearly violating the First Amendment, and they're clearly colluding with social media companies to violate Americans' First Amendment rights and candidates for office. This is in 2016, before Trump even became president. They were planning this because they saw what was going to happen. They saw the support that he had. And this is insane. Now, let's hear from the horse's mouth herself, and then also see what happened in I believe it's the House is clipped onto this one. I believe it was Massey, but Senate, House Judiciary, I think Blue Committee. Don't quote me on that one. Ready?
In terms of services, the development of apps and programs that can counter terrorist propaganda. We should also ask several key players to leverage social media, and these key players can be law enforcement, other government organizations.
These organizations that can leverage social media: law enforcement, other government associations,
private
institutions,
societal
institutions,
the public at large.
And the public at large. To what?
To highlight any failures of terrorists, to discourage terrorist operatives.
When she says terrorists, get rid of that word. Go like this, right? She means domestic terrorists. She means conservatives. She means Donald Trump, candidate for president. Harassment, hate speech. His speech is hate speech, because this person here, and she says it, does not believe that free speech is conducive to hate speech that hurts your feelings, and not like hate speech like you guys are thinking. No. Speech that hurts anybody is not conducive to free the First Amendment. That's like my superintendent the other day saying that there's good free speech and there's bad free speech. No, there's just free speech, dipshit.
Operatives and supporters, and finally to delegitimize and discredit
Was this just a group of vigilantes, concerned citizens, or was it in any way connected to the government? And what did they endeavor to do?
Yeah, this was so. First of all, it's a pretty ludicrous founding, which was that this is a group of Israeli, so-called former Israeli intelligence, former British intelligence, also working on Microsoft, and others who basically said we're going to volunteer our services. These are some of the world's greatest so-called cybersecurity professionals, volunteering their services to multi-billion-dollar hospital and healthcare organizations whose own IT organizations spend millions of dollars a year in cybersecurity, supposedly volunteering this. This was the premise of the whole thing. It created this third part that I mentioned. They had physical security, cybersecurity, they added cognitive security. And the people that did that were 2 UK and US military contractors. This was one of the most sophisticated disinformation operations that I've ever seen. I've been involved in progressive causes for over 30 years. I've never seen anything so organized, anything that was so focused on a particular with each other. That's right, and the whistleblower provided screenshots of Slack conversations dialed me.
So it would be hard for somebody to claim that these folks weren't agents of the government or acting in coordination with the government or using paid by the U.S. government when they were undertaking this.
Yes, Pablo Brewer was working for the U.S. Navy at the time, and many of the others were claiming to be
Mary's Navy.
Volunteering their time even while working their day jobs for the government.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there's a
tax breaks for Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, sorry.
The enforcement.
Now, Schellenberger there, that was from last month, was only talking about 2020, was talking about the election integrity project, okay? That was started to facilitate this partnership. But Marie Helen Maris was before the Twitter files. She was before this 2020 election stealing. She was trying to facilitate something in 2016 so we would never have what happened in 2016, Donald Trump's election, his MAGA movement, ever happen again. And not only that, she put a whole cast of characters up to a bunch of, I'm not saying just her plan, her team's plan, whoever the hell she's working with, because she's more important than her sister. She's more important than Tori says. She in 2016 is saying, we could get Donald Trump to the foreign press. We could get Donald Trump, off Twitter, hate speech. The social media companies should do that. Now we're talking about Twitter files. We have been paying these social media companies our tax dollars to censor American speech. She says previously, there's 3 reasons you can censor speech. You cannot censor speech because you don't agree with somebody's opinion. But since COVID, that's exactly what's happened.
In terms of service.
So I write this article. I start poking the bear. I start asking her about her sister. Why have you, Miss Super Podcaster since 2018, never, I'm going to save the freaking world with nothing I've ever won. How you've never brought up your UN sister? She could save the freaking day. No wonder you know everything. Why wouldn't you ever bring up your sister that works in this government and does all this cybersecurity stuff that you claim to know? I mean, the chick talks about blockchain like it's some quantum fucking theory. It's not. It's a register. It's all it is. It's all blockchain is. It's a register. If she talks again about blockchain like it is like a fucking thing, it's not a thing. It's a key fob in your wallet so you don't lose your wallet. That's how easy blockchain is. Like, I thought blockchain was hard until I actually learned it. And I was like, what is she talking about? She's full of it. And everybody that's like this is full of it. But her sister and her Ohio connections and the people that have been thrown in my path because of my connection with her, have been the most interesting thing that I have ever come across. And I'm going to introduce you. So 2016, before Russiagate, before any of it, before he was even president, how are we going to censor Donald Trump? We can't have this happen again. They knew they were losing. They knew they were losing. That can never happen again. DEFCON 5. Katie comes in October 23rd, 2023. I write this article on the 18th. Tori decides to bring up how horrible I am. I'm not even going to play this one because I don't think this one's even relevant.
Because I can't lose 6 inches, so you lose. You know, your game
Oh, yeah,
is fine,
here.
right? It's going to suck. Because, you know, defamation, I want to sue the shit out of everything. There's like even a woman in Ohio, one woman, her name is Kathleen Byer. She came to my face when I was talking with Lara Logan and Steve Hirschman to like attack me because I wouldn't support her group. Oh, and I was like, I don't know who your group is. Like, who are you? I didn't know what she was talking about. And she was aggressive. Now she's putting all these things out too. And I'm like, damn, and she ran for office. Yeah, but here's why it's important to know your candidate. Could you imagine if she went into office? If she does that to children, family.
Hold on. She says, oh, it's a horrible person. Do you know if she went in the office about children, and she brings up children, like if she did that to children, what did I do to children, Tori? What? Like the chick, this and another thing, this is what's really bad about, you know, my mom taught me this when I was young. If you lie, you know how you give yourself away? Your story changes. And it changes every single time you tell the lie. That's why you should keep a notebook to keep all your shit together, because you're really bad at it.
Of people that are running for office, could you imagine what she would do if she was actually in power? Let's get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's important to be able to suss out your candidates because they'll tell you everything they want you to see. LaRose is 2.4 kids, white picket fence, I'm a Green Beret, trust me.
Okay, anyways, let me tell you why I ran. I ran as a write-in candidate in 2022 against a rep that I have the utmost respect for, that I actually liked. And the only reason I did it was to get name recognition in the GOP because people would see it on the ballot and be like, who the heck is this? I had a site up for, I think, 2 weeks, and then it took me 24 hours to put together, and then I did nothing. I didn't do a mailer, I didn't do a flyer, and I did nothing. But it got me where I wanted to be. It got me, who is this girl? People started looking at me, people started paying attention. That's all I wanted. And I will say this now, will never run for political office. I do not want to be a politician. I want to affect policy, maybe do a little lobbying here and there, but I will never, ever run for office. Not my thing. I in my mouth. I can't do it. Can't do it. Within this time frame, I forget the exact date, the Ohio GOP basically wrote an article that mirrored mine about Tori Maris being unfit for office and how she's running against Frank LaRose. I just thought it was hilarious. But Tori had this meltdown and then painted, you know, because I had written the article and it was very similar and very, you know, it's pretty much the same. She was like, you know, GOP operatives are against me. Wexner, it's Wexner and Epstein, which isn't a fucking thing.
Their enemies are so big, they circle them. To make others our enemies, so Sam Pan, I would love all your prayers. I'm actually terrified of that. She's like me. She's a she stalks me. I'm actually, you know, I'm concerned about my safety. And I'm making that clear on social media. I'm concerned about my safety. From what I've heard from people on Facebook, on the back end, he was really unhinged, you guys, and it was really scary. So I don't know this person, right? Just one time they interacted with me, few months ago, and, you know, they were like in my face, upset because I wasn't supporting their group. And I'm like, what? I'm sorry, who? Like, hello? So I know all the security I got is bad, but, you know, I don't like hurting. On other news, for those that know, thank you very much for donating blood. For those of you that got the prescriptions and did it. That are funded by the actual Epstein network. That is the crazy. They're really crazy. I'm thinking of getting a restraining order, but you know, I know that she's a parent and I know that she has kids, and that's her business. You know, they're crazy. They're really crazy. They're obsessed. Obsessed. So obsessed. And the thing is, they're fighting on the wrong side. They're supporting these people. Right? They can hate me. I don't care. You don't have to like me. It's not about you and your personal, you know, issues. It's about our state and our country. Right now, when you see that the ICC and Les Wexner's cronies are coupling together with the Ohio DOT to come after them, that's a big deal. Right? That is a very big deal.
That's so stupid.
Because I'm not speaking to go in there and become someone famous. I don't need anybody to tell me who I am. I'm going in there to clean things up. Right? For me, I'm cleaning things up in the court. Supreme Court's been late. Should have had a decision on Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Me, regular person, lived in Ohio my whole life. Literally just got into all this stuff. Never wanted to be in any of this, but the stuff with the schools got so bad. And if you want to make any change in the schools, you have to get involved in politics. Happenstance ran into this chick for a few months, and it has been a whirlwind since. And, you know, I guess it was me to tell the story. But again, Tori's not a thing. I'm just letting you know what happened. I'm just not this crazy lady going after this lady for nothing. So this is on 10/26. I'm the crazy lady now because the GOP put out an ad on her. Originally, I had my original blog was Main Street Patriots. I took in January, took that off and put this on my actual new website at the time, which is a year ago. I posted censorship is peace and patriotism is terrorism on October 30th, the first part. Now the second part I posted right after the Twitter files started to really become a big thing. I wanted to discuss this public-private partnership. I wanted to express it. This was before the Twitter files. Look, in 2016, the Department of Defense was debriefing the foreign press on how to censor, how to remove people off Twitter before we even thought that was a thing. You would have told me in 2016 I was insane if I told you that the government had partnered with Twitter to censor Americans. But here she is in 2016 saying, hey, we got to get our shit together or we're going to continue to lose. We're not going to get this train back if Trump just keeps going. And look what happened in 2020. Look what the, you know, social media companies did. Oh, this is just her again on 11/5. She decides to come at me again. But we're going to skip that because I want to get to Hava. So during this time, Hava Laudon was originally at that June 18th event that Tori says I attacked her at. She ends up reaching out to Karen, who was my business partner. She was on the first season of Mean Street. She started reaching out to Karen, and Karen was like, hey, I'm going to go meet this Hava Laudon lady. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to go meet her alone. I'm like, if this is the Hava that I'm thinking of, which I was almost positive it was, and I was right, you're definitely not going to go meet her alone. And I knew that Hava somehow had a tie to New Ohio, especially because of this little comment right here that I put. I asked her originally if her Hava handle was her name, because I recognized, Hava Laudon's not a very common name. And she says, yeah, here's my Twitter handle. And I was like, oh, I'm like, and the only reason I was on New Ohio, the Telegram, the only reason was New Ohio. at the end of it, I joined a couple other groups, but I'm not even on that thing like that. I really don't like it because it saves everything and then it saves a file on your computer. It's just the whole app is weird. But I could download the chat export. I could, play with it. But the only reason I was in Telegram was New Ohio. So the only reason I would see her handle would be New Ohio, which is why I asked Hava that. So I ended up going with Karen on November 2nd to this little Amish restaurant and met Hava. And you should have seen her face when I walked in. She was so mad. She was so mad that I was there. She was so fucking mad I was there because she knew me from being online and trying to spread the story. And she also knew me from the June 18th event. I was sitting right next to her and whatever. But me and Karen used this opportunity to question Hava on, what is this Ohio precinct strategy she's peddling? How did she know Tori Maris? What happened at that event? What was, why did everything get so riled up? And what is her plans with Ohio since she's, now touting her human trafficking, her Ohio precinct strategy, and all of this. I want to play you just a couple clips. We're going to not spend too much time on here because like I said, we went over it previously, but we're going to tie it all together and who Hava gave us to reach out to following this meeting because of what she mentions here. So the first clip I'm just going to play for you.
I don't like to get behind things that I can't find who's behind them. And
so Karen's talking about the Ohio Precinct Strategy website because that's why Hava said that she wanted to meet Karen was to discuss Ohio Precinct Strategy. Knowing Karen and I were working together, by the way, and knowing who I was from, you know what I mean? And she was mad when I got there. When she walked up and saw that I was standing there, she was pissed. Again, big mad. She's a big mad, as me and my kids would say.
no. Well, that's the goal. Well, that's the goal. That's the goal. To get you distracted over here so that
They put a bunch of shit in
so
front of
Karen,
you.
like, if you come to me and you're like, will you help my friend use this? I'm like, okay, sure. We can work together, but I can't have you tell Dr. Frank to bring other people into this. I need to know that we're gonna, because we can, I will stay with you through this process. I'll give you the language for some of your boards of election. I'll give you
What language?
It's all legal stuff.
Like what? Like I've done 3 years of research. You've done what, a year? Yeah, research. So what do you have on the boards of elections that is like, you said data, what data?
We get the reports.
What report?
You have a whole list of them.
Well, I have a list of reports that I have that I stole from Maris. So what reports?
What do you,
What reports are you requesting that's gonna make such a big difference?
like I said, you have
And what nationally, if our elections aren't national, if they're state, what does that mean? Ohio? Okay, but you've not said who this whole time, has she? Them. You say them, they, this. You haven't given us a report name. You haven't given us, look here, do this, do that. Nothing. Nothing. What incident report? What incident report for the Board of Elections?
If you don't know what that is. That's like,
Because it's super secret, right? It's a super secret report.
yeah, it's
What report are you talking about?
it's not a report that I have learned about.
I mean, we have the retention schedule. I've never seen a super secret report like that.
I've never, it's not, I don't think it's.
What would be on the retention schedule, wouldn't it? So we'll go home and look at it. Yeah, because we have all the county's retention reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are you looking at specifically? Are you looking at the algorithm, looking at machines? Are you looking at the process? Like, what are you looking at? Tells you so what are you gonna do with the incident report? Are they violated Hava with the incident? Like, you make your connection here.
Okay, so I'll say this again, I'm not gonna like go over my whole presentation right now, like, because if you wanna look
What's the precinct strategy?
presentation, like, I'll do it.
Can you answer that? Because precinct strategy is easy. It was a book. What is the
Okay, I'm asking her, Ohio Precinct Strategy. What is the precinct strategy? And I know I sound aggravated. This clip is after 2 hours of her talking straight nonsense at us.
precinct strategy? What is that?
Like, Ohio precinct strategy?
No, what is the precinct strategy?
I don't know, I didn't read the book. That's not, I said that was not.
we're here to talk to her about precinct strategy, right?
Yeah.
But she can't even explain to you what it is.
I know what we're doing.
Well, what is that? You get involved in a what? What's precinct strategy? That's what it is. That's
Primarily,
not the precinct strategy.
that's primarily to get them involved, because they can't be involved if they don't. We get them.
No, it's not if they don't know what they're doing. You need to get involved to get control on a local level. That's what the whole precinct
You can't
strategy is
get
about.
involved.
You can't get involved in your county central committees. You can't get involved in your board of elections.
Not if you don't know how to run.
No, not you can't. She can't even say what the precinct strategy is.
I'm so confused because there's
Okay, I said you can't get involved in your county central committee. So what I'm saying is you can't run for county central committee if you don't know what you're doing. All you have to do is run. So all you're doing is educating people and telling them this is what it is, run, and then you're voting for an executive committee. Or you can't go take a poll watchers class and then go watch your first election and then build your way up and learn that way. You just, need to follow these people to tell you what to do. And honestly, her poll watching did nothing. Absolutely nothing. It is nothing, because what can the poll watchers do? Can they make a report? Can they get somebody? Can they? Nothing. So Karen ends it great with her. But there's relevance to this.
at the board level. I mean, people can call the Board of Elections and say, hey, this is going on. But I mean, as a board of elections, like a poll worker, I'm not trained on anything that a citizen can fill out, like in the moment, like if they see, election shenanigans. So I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm very confused as to who you are, who you're with, what the strategy is, and you've talked in circles for the last 2 hours. So thanks for meeting with us. It's really been enlightening.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, you can explain your own theory because you made it up. I didn't mean to be snippy, but like this chick had for an hour and a half been ignoring me, like I wasn't even present. And then, when she did acknowledge me, she was like trying to I don't know, she's trying to get in my head or something. Like, honestly, I don't care. But she was trying to diss me or something, or just make little passive aggressive insinuations that I'm not built that way.
So that was also one of the reasons.
Okay, so Karen brings up to her previous to that this is the reason I wanted to talk about this, is OPS doesn't know their own strategies. Tori Maris, and this is the connection, peddles the Ohio precinct strategy in her Mendenhall interview, and then on this one news media, but you can't find anything about it. Nobody puts their name on anything on this site. It's you can't find the organization. We looked up the articles of incorporation. It doesn't exist. It's really fucking shady.
County. And I was like, I'm just gonna work it from.
On decentralized networks. And so I don't necessarily, I don't want to be responsible for those people out there because I get outpressed them. And
I don't like to get behind things that I can't find, ramp up the crazy behind them. And so that was also one of the reasons I talked to the county. And I was like, I'm just gonna work it from.
on decentralized networks. And so I don't necessarily, I don't want to be responsible for those people out there because I get outpressed them. And ultimately they gotta be able to do their own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna head a project, put your name in. And
I have people that watch me really carefully and I get more done out of there. That's how I like to do some of the stuff was changed, when we didn't want them to know.
She's talking about Jason Miller with what is his group called? I can't even think of what his group name is. He has a group out in East Ohio. I can't think of it. It's We the People something. We the People Canton or something. So, and she said she was related to him somehow, but they both say that's not true. But I don't know.
That we were filing for those candidates, but you can tell it publicly.
Hold on. Now she's filing to put candidates in, which was something that Tori Maris was doing. See how she.
so what is your the Ohio verified stuff.
I don't know, I'm just frustrated because I feel like they're getting to, like, I know the national name that I do not trust, and they're kind of trying to take it. I think they're trying to get themselves in. I give no, like, I don't allow it, but like, I have other people that I work with that don't. And so because of a series of events yesterday, I'm concerned that they're going to like make it, but my goal would be to push forward, like to get people to file claims and what I want to do.
If you can't say who the bad actors are, how do you expect normal citizens to say who the bad actors are?
Boom. Yeah. You keep saying they're after me. These people are doing this. It's like Mr. Nobody. It's like my kids. Like, who did that? Nobody. I don't know. Nobody. Mr. Nobody's the biggest asshole in the world. You're not even telling me who's after you. They're after me. You say it sounds insane. It's insane. I mean, and this election stuff, I'm going to tell you guys something, and you might not like to hear this. When we agreed to use that election software, that software is proprietary, which means we're never going to see it, which means that we agreed never to see it when we bought it, which is the dumbest thing in the world. But that's what we agreed to. That's what we agreed to. So all of these people saying it's Smart Max, it's us, we've seen the machines, they haven't seen shit because they don't own it to go and see it. They don't own it to understand how the algorithm works. They don't own it to be able to inspect that. And what are you getting from it? You would be better off going on your local level and saying, let's get on paper ballots. But that's not what they want you to do. Especially Hava. And these people are all linked together. And she said, I know those national people. What national people, Hava? What national people do you know? I'm going to tell you which one she knows, but
I think there's a lot of that in Ohio. I do. There's chaos coordinator.
now, Tori Maris's handle used to be I do not exist Tor, and then she changed it to chaos coordinator. And I created that name because I told Karen one day, I said, all they do is create chaos. They're chaos coordinators. That's all they do. And she's embraced it, which I absolutely love because that's what they are. They do a lot of drama, a lot of bullshit, and get nothing done.
Crazy. Yeah. And then the chaos coordinator radicalized. Yeah. I think there's a lot of that in Ohio. I do. 100% correct.
There's a lot of it nationwide, and I feel like it does feel really complicated here.
But why? It's interesting because our legislators purple, and because we're purple, as much as we're red, we're purple. Yeah.
But I think we do have our convention. Obviously, we don't have to for the Republicans, but I think Ohio, I think it actually and would you love it?
Yeah.
But Ohio, I think they breed them here.
I just think we're Midwestern. You know, everybody tries somebody from Ohio. OH. You know, what can go wrong?
They breed rhinos here. She should know. Next clip I want you to listen to. I don't remember if this is the June 18th one or not.
So what is your goal?
So Karen pushes her on what her goal is. This is where she mentions somebody got to somebody, and then I believe she mentions Stubbins in this one. It's only about a minute long.
They're getting to, like, I know the national name they do this for us. They're kind of trying to take it. They're trying to get themselves in. I give no, like, I don't allow it, but like, I have other people that I work with that don't. And so because of a series of events, yes, they're going to like make it, but my goal would be what I'm going to do.
If you can't say
Sorry, I think I skipped that one. It's this one. This is where I talked to Hava about the June 18th event, and I get her side. And this is where she tells us about John Stubbins. I messed up that part.
And he told her that day, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you're doing, don't know anything about you. I talked to him right after I went off on her in the back of the room. She's making coffee, stand next to him, and Yvonne was talking. I took it to her, I said my piece to her, I went right next to her, and I went off. And then I went right to him, I said, sorry, these people are going off on you, it's really unprofessional, and it's really unbecoming, you need to start at the local level. And the thing between her and Laura, I don't know what the fuck those two have going on, but they have something going on, and that's stupid. I can read as soon as she's recording, Laura looks back, you're sitting right there, Laura looks back, looks at Tori, looks back, and then all of a sudden she's yelling at the guy she invited to the event. Birdsburg. She's yelling at him because he's saying get your local control because he's bipartisan. He's been back to our first time back. That's how you're going to treat somebody that you invited to an event.
No,
she said we've been good friends and this and that
so
before.
I'll tell you, we had that as a background before then. So you have to, Steve and Laura, like, they have a very unique relationship. They fight all the time to make, we had together.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the friend. He had to interrupt me and push back at me.
Yeah, it wasn't like an interruption. It was like she had that whole room.
She did not read it. Like, because I know who this is. Yeah. And so she
I don't know.
and I wanted to look at it. It's like,
it was one story, so the story was standing next to me, and I didn't see Tori before. I had her one.
So also so I get and Stubbins was there. So I get and he was the other. John Stubbins was there. My Brett was there. Like that place was and so I get there and
Ohio Brett was there. John Stubbins was there. I don't know who Ohio Brett is. I'm really not sure. I'm really bad with these people. But I'm going to tell you this right now. John Stubbins, you wouldn't miss that guy. He's loud as hell for one. And he was not in that room. And John Stubbins has a podcast. He's done episodes with Laura Logan. And he's under the Mike Lindell umbrella. Just FYI.
Why was that place for me?
here's why they were. We've done these events all over the country, and it was the first event that we did because I and Steve picked who was on that stage that I didn't let any of them on the stage. Like, they've let Frank on, they've let down, they've let all sorts of them on. And I know.
You hear they let Mike Lindell on, they let Dr. Frank on, they left all these people on, but I'm not letting these people on. Like they're like I never, and I'm not saying this is a dig to anybody. That's just my personality. I'm not I'm gonna, follow this person and watch what they do and they give me nothing. And it's no offense to anybody because, for as much as I'm not a big fan of these people, they do, wake people up a little bit. They get them on a grip, but they wake them up. And don't give any of these people money. Don't give any of them money. But really interesting. She said all these people on the national front, I know all these people.
It's blessed. Any one of them. So they couldn't get in the people trying to get on that stage was unbelievable. Like,
Now she's worked with these people, by the way.
it's
She messaged Steve once her that day. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing. Don't know anything about you. I talked to him right after I went off on her in the back of the room. She's making coffee, stand next to him, and Yvonne was talking. I took it to her. I said my piece to her. I went right next to her, and I went off. And then I went right to him. I said, sorry, these people are going off on you. It's really unprofessional. And it's really unbecoming. You need to start at the local level. And the thing between her and Laura, I don't know what the fuck those two have going on, if they have something, it's too bad. You can read as soon as she comes in, and Laura looks back. Just sitting right there. Laura looks at Tori, looks back, and then all of a sudden she's yelling at the guy. The guy she
Okay. So we were giving names. Ohio Brett, John Stubbins, I think somebody else's name. So what we started to do, Karen and I, when I say we, so I'm not saying they and we and not giving people's names like I bitch about with Hava. She brings up, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Neon. She brings up John Stubbins. I didn't before this know who John Stubbins was, but we start Googling John Stubbins and we realize that John Stubbins is a mutual friend of our friend Hayden's, who's a little political G out here in Ohio, right? So we reach out to Hayden. Hayden ends up calling John Stubbins. At the time, I'll be honest with you, me and Karen are ignorant to who this guy is. And we're just like, this is what we found out, that this chick, you know, that we met, who's crazy, running Ohio precinct strategy, it brought you up and said that you were trying to get on that stage, even though that I know that he wasn't there, even though, you know, all of this nonsense. So he gives us this whole thing that I lived with Laura Logan for 3 months in Texas. They did an interview. The interviews are online. You can look them up. The dude's nuts. I actually found and I'm sorry, John, this is going to upset you, but I actually found a custody complaint filed in Ohio where he claimed that he was insane and his bipolar was the reason he didn't have to pay child support. So he claimed insanity, so he didn't have to pay child support, be responsible for his kid, but is trying to save the world with Homeland Security with Laura Logan living in her house for 3 months. And the whole thing was weird. And he was like very obsessed with like why Laura's not talking to me anymore. And I don't think that's even a thing. I think they all grift. I think they're all part of the same grift, but he scheduled, I was ignorant at the time. He scheduled a meeting with us, said, I want to, I'm really busy right now. Somebody I know is getting married and I'm out of town, whatever. I'm trying to get my show. So whatever excuse he gave us, said, can we meet in 2? You guys get this together, figure out what you figure out. And can we meet in 2 weeks, talk about this? And I said, yeah, sure. I don't care. I'll do a Zoom call with anybody. So we get on a Zoom call on November 14th of 2022. The only way I know how to explain this is I'm just going to play it. We ask John how he knows Hava Laudon, right? I mean to yell, sorry. Oh, shoot. I stink at this. Okay, so I'm going to start it so I don't yell in this thing. I'm going to start it here, I believe. If he gets me yelling, I'm sorry, because Mark Cook, who is in the first slide, that was on the June 18th, this June 18th event, it's like everybody connects to it. Facebook friend requested me, I believe it was either on Telegram or Facebook, but he's done it twice and I denied it because I'm like really weird. Weird thing too is that Mark Cook ended up connecting with this guy out here that was really into the election in my city who was really into election stuff. And I told him to cut that off very quickly. I ended up finding out later that Mark Cook also worked with John Stubbins in the trucker movement, which is a Hava thing, which is where Hayden met. Hayden, the guy that introduces John Stubbins, we were like, Hayden, where'd you meet this guy? Was at a trucker movement when Hayden was driving his car around Ohio, ended up meeting him, just happenstance. And I think they still talk. But I want to play some of this video in order to then branch off to where I'm getting at with all of this. So y'all don't think I'm crazy and that this is all just random. He's talking about his friend. We don't know who.
can't tell us the end of their damn knock and fucking look.
Okay, so I got ill freaked out because he mentions Mark Cook. I see the guy's picture and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this guy messaged me on Telegram the other day. I blocked him because I don't do that whole thing usually. And I'm just not a fan of it. It just freaked me out. It just freaked me out. And Karen goes, this is really fucking weird. John also mentions in the beginning of this, like he was trying to get his friend on, but he didn't tell us what this friend was or who he was or why he was relevant to this, nor did Hayden, by the way, who set up this call. Oh, I hate when I do that. I have to go to previous now. Sure. Here we go. I don't have my reading glasses on. I hate when it does this. I'm sorry, you guys. So, John Stubbins says, I don't trust Hava or Mark Cook.
Yeah.
Mark Cook, why do I know that name?
I just sent you a screenshot of his profile.
I know that name.
Oh, I don't even have my phone.
Well, we're in a bit of a second. Like, is this audio okay? Because I'm on the old iPad.
You're good. You're good. Am I echoing? Katie, I'm in our studio. Is it echoing?
You need a rug.
Okay.
A rug?
Sound. Vibration.
Is that a guest you're going to have frequently, Rod?
Yes. Hayden, can you come lay on our floor and take up space so we can bounce the sound of you?
Please.
It's like Hayden, it's like a bear rug, but it's
Yeah, I don't think
Sorry about that.
Hayden.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I'm trying to get my friend to actually join us so that he could talk to you, and I just texted him to see if he can. But look, I don't trust either one of those people.
This dude.
Mark Cook?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this is bizarre shit, John. I don't know why they're concentrated on us. I think it's the sister. I'm almost positive it's the sister.
I don't give a
Well,
fuck.
we'll tango with your dad, Katie.
I think I mentioned to you when we talked on the phone that last year, at the time, my friend Lara Logan invited me to come down to Texas and stay, on the homestead there, with her husband, her kids. We had security down there because we were, doing a lot of different things that required security from a national security standpoint. But I was there 3 months, and when I left there, everything was fine. And after that, COVID, their family had caught COVID over the holidays, and we didn't talk. And then I tried to contact Lara back in the spring. I had a couple investors that wanted to come on board for a documentary that we were going to do on the FISA abuse, the Russia hoax, all of that, the Durham investigation. And at that time, Lara wasn't returning my calls. And I got really upset about this because, her and I spent a lot of time together in the 3 months that I lived with them. I'm sure you can imagine if you're living with a family for 3 months, that's a lot of face time, right? And not only was I living there with them, but we were actively getting people out of Afghanistan. I'm sure you remember that debacle by Biden. And then also simultaneously with that, the border issue, and then Lara and I did like 5 shows, 5 specials together down there. And so, you know, we were busy the whole time, and Hava Laudon never was a part of any discussion in any way, shape, or form. Her name never came up. And Lara knew I was from Ohio. She never brought her name up to me. So sitting here to this day, if you ask me, how does Lara know Hava Laudon, I would say I'd have to find out because I don't know.
I would ask.
So if Hava Laudon has any kind of a relationship with Lara Logan, and she's bad mouthing me to Lara and tried to come between me and my friend, I'm very upset about that because
well, Hava told us that she had a relative. Well, she didn't say a relative. She said a family connection with Jason Miller that we mentioned. Canton's We the People.
Amish.
Jason Amish. That they have an Amish background.
Okay.
Well, if you want to get somebody that has no birth certificate, no background, no family, no anything, who would you?
Education. Who would you target?
Okay, let me stop you guys for just a minute. My friend just joined us. Nate, can you hear us, brother? Nate, can you hear us, brother? Unmute yourself.
Sorry,
Nate.
yeah.
Unmute yourself, brother. There you go. Yeah, now I can hear you. Nate, I want to introduce you to Karen Kreffer and Katie and Hayden.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Good to meet you.
Hi.
Nate, you missed part of this call. Can you tell these fine folks are right here in Ohio, in my home state, and these are good people. Can you talk about Mark Cook and Hava Laudon and you know, because Hava Laudon was telling these fine people that she was working for Sidney Powell. Is that right, ladies?
Yes, that her team vetted essentially the affidavits because she alluded to team vetted Torsephocore Maris's, Lindemann Maris, I don't know what she's calling herself.
The 20 aliases she has.
Yeah, her affidavit for the Sidney Powell voter, litigation that she was conducting.
Interesting. Did she say when she did that?
John, did you
Trucker
listen to
convoy. It was before the convoy. What'd she
Was
say
it
it
before
was?
or after? It would have had to have been after. 'cause
Washington. They
John-
were in Washington around the convoy, she said.
So I was part of an election integrity team that was brought together. Mostly, we were brought together to support Peter Navarro, and but originally the guy who had put our team together, his name was Mike Tremarco, and I was asked by the White House to come down and meet at Steve Bannon's office, and was supposed to meet Peter Navarro. It never happened, but the information that we produced ended up going to Navarro's office and ultimately ended up in his report. But there was more than one team apparently that was doing that. Hava and Mark Cook, I had met Mark. I don't know if you guys are familiar with my background or anything about me, but
no.
All right. Well, I'm a former FBI whistleblower, cybersecurity guy for the last 25 years. But in 2017, I blew the whistle against the FBI and for their cover-up of Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation. So that kind of automatically put me in the limelight, for lack of better words. And I kind of immediately passed the sniff test with the Trump administration. So I was asked to come down and join this team. I had a background in cyber, and we started, our team was looking into things. And I had met Mark actually at a conference about a year prior to that. I want to say that would have been like 2019 October, I think, or no, maybe it was 2017. No, 2018 October. Anyways, it was an AMP Fest down in Miami, and I was a speaker there. And so he ended up coming and sitting at my table at like a prayer breakfast type thing. And we hit it off. He was a nice guy and everything, and I didn't think much of it. Well, and after that, I left, went about my way, but he, I guess, like connected with my dad who was there, and he was keeping tabs on me through my father. And so at one point in time when we had first gotten brought down to this hotel in the Gateway Hotel down in Arlington, we were originally supposed to be, put on or working with Sidney Powell, and we signed non-disclosure agreements, although I never met Sidney Powell. She actually left like the night we got there. She left because that's when she got that death threat. And so we ended up, so I think Mike Tremarco was trying to find a funding source for us. Long story short, I took a 2 months off from work, burned through all my leave, took a leave of absence without pay. And we did, I probably put in more hours than I ever have on anything. And ultimately we got burned pretty bad. And I found, we were doing a lot of really good work. My testimony was in several lawsuits that were filed, but of course the courts just didn't want to have any kind of evidentiary hearings. And our focus was primarily on things that we could prove. We weren't interested in going after wild conspiracies or things that, were not provable, because ultimately in order to prove a cyber hack, you have to have access to the systems, and nobody got access to the system. So
exactly,
there's really no way to prove that there was a hack in the election. But what there was a lot of evidence of was people not maintaining chain of custody documents and ballots and the 22-month retention requirements for all those documents. Those were all punishable felonies. And that was something that we had plenty of evidence of. And that falls under the Civil Rights Act. We also had plenty of evidence that these machines did not, or likely did not, meet the certification requirements under the law for Hava. And that was due to several reports that were reported in the news.
That's what Maris was pulling. She was pulling all the certificates and all of the, I have it all. I downloaded it while they were doing it, but she was matching that the certificates weren't matching with the machines, or they weren't updating it and per Hava guidelines. I have like a 5-page document.
Yeah, so the FEC, they are the ones that originally came out with the guidance, or not guidance, standards, that were put in place for electronic voting machines to be used in elections.
Mm-hmm.
And those standards, had a very strict error rate, which was something that, I championed with the various lawyers that I was talking to, that they needed to push that issue, because that was, something that was easily provable. Also,
and that was proved in the Everest report back in 2000.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. So anyways, long story short, we did a lot of work. We did a whole heck of a lot of work. And in the end, it became obvious that we weren't going to get paid for any of it. And so, at some point you have to cut your losses. And we decided after December, that we would, go back home and go back to our jobs and all of that. But right before that, what happened was we were making some progress and some headway. And I think it was getting some attention with Rudy Giuliani's team, because we had written several documents and provided several of these things to, the White House, to the Jenna, what's her last name? Sorry, say again?
Jenna Ellis.
Yes, Jenna Ellis. We were providing our documents through a intermediary with the White House. It was one of one of Navarro's staffers, Ziegler. I can't remember his first name, but he was coming up almost every day and meeting with us. And we ended up eventually going, and our documents got provided to the White House, and they were being reviewed by Jenna Ellis. But at that time, Trump was so insulated by lawyers and everybody else that I don't know if he even ever saw what we provided. But I ended up getting one of the guys that we were working with came into our group, and he ended up coming down with COVID the next day. And he was, the day before was coughing all over me and everything. So I decided to do the responsible thing and go get a COVID test just to see if I had COVID. And this was prior to them being able to tell you immediately. So I quarantined myself for 2 days in my room and, at this hotel. And in that 2-day period, basically Mark and Hava, and I don't know for certain who did what or who said what, but Mark and Hava were inseparable. Okay. They clearly knew each other from beforehand. They worked together.
What was Mark's background? Do you know? Was he Amish?
I have no idea. He's from Colorado. He has a computer, like an IT, services, ISP, type of a background. Yeah. So he ended up seeing to it that myself and my business partner, and the only reason I even know about it is because my business partner, he's now my business partner. At that time, he was just one of the team members who I had really bonded with. When you're fighting in the foxhole with somebody, you become very close with them. So a guy by the name of Harry Howery, who I had become very close to, when I was out for those 2 days, Mark basically, pitched to the team that they needed to, cut me loose and that, that they needed to go after trying to, hook up with Rudy Giuliani and all of this. And so it ended up dividing the team, and Harry said, basically, no, I'm not going to do that. And, but yeah, so we don't know what happened, but somebody badmouthed us to the White House lawyers, because all of a sudden we went from being, like the guys who,
the go-to, right? The
go-to guys to being, basically kicked to the curb. And not only that, but also just, folks that, that were, that I could get a hold of anytime, not returning my calls and things like that. And it was really weird. So I knew somebody had sabotaged us. And
so what was Hava's skill set that led her to this team?
Hava, she didn't have any skill sets. Her background was not, she was there as a, just a support. And Mark brought her along. I didn't know her prior to Mark. So, it was kind of weird how she just kind of showed up. And she was nice. I got along with her great. I never had a crossword with her. We had some good moments together as a team, but I found out that, and Mark, he was totally supportive, kind of jumped right in to be there and be helpful. Hey guys, I got to jump on. I got to take another call. It's really important, but I'll be back.
Okay.
Come back, Nate.
John, how did she materialize for you?
Okay, here's how she materialized for me. She contacted me. She was not the leader, but she was connected to the MAGA Interstate Drive. You know what I'm talking about?
I feel like this is all very targeted and intentional.
Yes.
And so let me just say this. So I've got my show going. This is in 2020. And she reached out to me. I don't even know how she got my number. Maybe it was through social media. That's probably what it was. She reached out to me, wanted to bring herself and the national MAGA interstate leader. And this MAGA interstate group, what they do is they put cars all over the United States, and at a certain time they drive and they have flags, you know, Trump and MAGA and all this. So these are like coordinated drives is what they are, right? And so she wanted to bring herself and this national leader.
Who was the national leader? Did you know? Did you ever know who that was?
He came on my show with her. I want to say Keith something. I'd have to go back and look at my notes.
Okay.
But anyway, the two of them came on the show, and Hava talked about the Ohio MAGA Interstate Drive, and then Keith, if that was his name, he talked about the broader national drive. So I figured I'd get two perspectives on it on the show. That was my purpose for having them on. And
there's more to that. And Nate Cain comes back, and we are going to deep dive into that on our next episode. But I want to connect Nate Cain. Nate Cain is connected to Tori Says. Here she is bringing up his whistleblowing. Here she is sharing his some post of his. So connected to Tori, connected to Hava, John Stubbins. Now this convoy, which is how Hayden met these people previously. So I'm going to show you my brain works real quick because I'm an absolutely insane person. Ba-boom. Just from that little conversation, here's your map. I run into Tori, okay? Run into Tori Maris. Tori Maris has a very close relationship with Patrick Byrne, CEO of Overstock.com. He's always on our podcast. And her sister is Marie Helen Maris, 2016 DOD, whatever. You know what I mean? When did Tori come on the scene in Ohio? Well, she came on the scene in Ohio for one, her Maple Heights School Board stuff, the New Ohio movement. But really, it was this 2020 Operation Shadowgate with Dynology and Patrick Berge and Millie Weaver. Millie Weaver, ex Alex Jones person. I forget what his name of this thing is, but ex Alex Jones person worked on the Alex Jones show. So just keep that in mind as well, okay? Patrick Berge, the guy's weird. He had Hava on as Alpha something, some secret super spy shit again. And he was going over my interview with Ashley, this girl Ashley Joe, in October, and he stopped the interview as soon as I told him I knew who Alpha I-Fi was. Then when I got a hold of him, he had some bullshit backstory. He always does. And no offense, I could trust him as far as I could throw him. I don't really care about him. Tori Maris is connected to Sidney Powell because the affidavit that she wrote for her. Hava Laudon apparently worked for Sidney Powell. Nate Cain confirmed that. Okay. I should probably use my monitor. Nate Cain confirmed that. Hava Laudon, Nate Cain, Tori Maris, Mark Cook. Okay. We're going to put Keith Lee out here. They're connected, Hava and Laura Logan and John Stubbins. Hava and Laura Logan through this event, Make Your Vote Count with Ohio Policing Strategy, which I was at, which caused the issues with me and Maris to begin with. John Stubbins is connected to Mike Lindell because it's his TV program. Mike Lindell's been really quiet lately. And this apparently was he is being facilitated through that whole America. I forget what they call it, but I believe that's Mike Tremarco. Is that Mike Tremarco? No. So let's go to, I'm going to skip these big people real quick. Okay. Because Flynn is interesting. Nate Cain, the guy that was just on that interview, running for West Virginia in Congress right now. Okay. Was a whistleblower as well as an election And when he says on election team, he's talking about December 21st, Patrick Byrne, by the way, which is another connection here I got to make. Patrick Byrne, Overstock CEO, he was working with his election integrity team with Sidney. Go back to Sidney Powell, with Sidney Powell, righty? All the red is him. Now he says his team was Mark Cook, right? Hava Laudon, Steve Hertzberg, who was at that event with Tory Maris, right, on June 18th, where I was the attacker, which is bullshit. And that Nate Cain said in that little 9-minute segment, which he says a lot more, and I can expand upon that. Nate Cain right here says that he reported, from his understanding, he was seeing Garret Ziegler every day in December of 2021. And Garret Ziegler was reporting straight to Jenna Ellis. Now, before that, he slipped up and said Rudy Giuliani, and then he stopped himself. Garret Ziegler is supposedly messing with Peter, is the aide to Peter Navarro, and has been messing with Rudy Giuliani. Mike Tremarco, what I put right here. He had some lawsuit that he dropped, which is really interesting. But this is the whole point. Marie Helen Maris, family friends with the Burns, right? Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. General Flynn is connected to that, right? General Flynn is also connected to Tory Maris because I picture them in Ohio during their they do that whole little festival with speakers, and you got to do something to save America. But they've done nothing besides speaking engagements that I can actually possibly think of. Laura Logan knows Tory from Afghanistan, more than likely knows a sister from Afghanistan. She was a reporter in Afghanistan, and I guarantee I had a run-in with this chick. Nate Cain, later on in the interview, tells us that he knows Marie Helen Maris, which is, and I'm a dumbass and cut him off, but he admits that they know each other. I just haven't figured out how yet, which is easy to connect. But the grand scheme of things, why? Okay, why Ohio? Why all these people, right? And why do all these people connect and have cross connections? And it's not just coincidence. There is no such thing in this life as a coincidence. I'm going to stop sharing this. There's no such thing as a coincidence, okay? Not a coincidence this big. People, what this all led me down, and I'm going to expand on that graph. That graph goes way out, and the story gets bigger. And we're going to start with Nate Cain because I've already probably messed with you guys enough. But what was Afghanistan known for? Okay, because this is really all it leads. It really comes back down to with these people is there, and especially Flynn, is the psychological operations that you now have to fight war differently. You have to, it's a cultural thing. It's you're doing an ideological thing. They also talk a lot about human terrain. I don't want to really get into that much yet because I don't want to confuse all of you. I really just wanted to do how I'm personally connected to these people and how they're personally connected to my state, and that it is a bigger picture, and people need to start looking at these people in a bigger picture. And, when we think Twitter files, we need to think before the Twitter files. When did this really start? When did we start incentivizing social media companies with our tax dollars to censor us? When did we start allowing people who have been involved in the forever war to be making and to be peddling freedom? Because everything Mike Flynn set up before 2014 was nothing to do with a free and open society. It's the rule of law. It's control. It's centralization. It's Mike Flynn developed and tried and put together these public-private partnerships. This was his idea, and I have videos that we're going to go over and show that. But this is why I took a little bit of a break. It's a lot. We're going to connect Senate committee hearings to these people. We are going to connect more people to these people. And what's really interesting is how they all just start to connect. And it's problematic. And it is dead center in Ohio. So I know this was long. If I lost you guys, I'm so sorry. Next episode, which is the new year, New Year's Day night, we're going to be talking about Nate Cain more. We are going to be talking about that little block, the Nate Cain block, the John Stubbins block, the Maris block, see what he says about Maris. I really want you guys to start thinking about Marie Helen Maris. I want you to think, why would she want to facilitate a public-private partnership to censor the American people in 2016? Especially then candidate Donald Trump. Then I wanted you to think of all of the little theaters that have gone on, the Russiagate, the Crossfire Hurricane, the constant media attacks. I mean, we are in a different type of environment. And I think people need to start waking up to the fact of, and I hate saying it's such a cliche term, but because, you know, Flynn uses it himself, is fifth generation warfare. Because I think we're in 6, to be honest with you. I would urge people to look up Mao's China's Cultural Revolution. I would urge you to look up General Flynn's plans from Afghanistan. Michael Hastings from 2011 talking about how our senators were being used in a psychological operation. My last episode, Jade Helm, where I kind of really lightly connect the Jade Helm operations with what's going on now in regards to the human terrain. Patrick Byrne, Overstock CEO, brings up human terrain a lot. And that definition alone is where I'm at. Ohio is insane. Because then I'm going to connect these people, these names to grassroots movements in my state. And they're all connected. And what's the purpose, Katie, right? What's the purpose? What's the bottom line? To make sure that the people do nothing and sit and wait for a hero. I will say it was the communist tactic to tell the population, or even think of Rome. You know, they say the Romans were in the Colosseum and partying and getting fat, and then they came out and Rome was gone. Chaos coordinator. I want you to think of the name I gave Tori, chaos coordinator. They're just getting you all hyped up. They're telling you that it's the machines, it's this, it's the Ukraine, it's this. I urge you, go to a council meeting, go to a board meeting, go and just sit for a few of them. You will very quickly realize that you have more control than you realize. And just by asking questions to local officials will affect more than you know. And start losing the idea of federal, state, local, because flip that triangle upside down. That's how our control works. Local, state, federal. If we can get that local, it's going to be a domino effect down. I'm not gonna push the precinct strategy because I think they've all ruined it. I think all the grifters have ruined it. And honestly, in Ohio, good luck. Even if you get in, unless you have a voting block of people to elect to precinct, you know what I mean? That will affect your executive committee. But there's plenty of ways that people can get involved, and there is plenty of skills that each and everybody has to help this. But I'm going to, in the next week, get out the national thing that I ran into. I'm going to continue on to just revealing what I found so I can get back to Ohio and education, because it's really what I wanted to do to begin with. But I got sucked into this. I think just because where I live, or just my circumstances of who I've ran into and how I've ran into them. And I don't really know, but I think the people need to know. And I'm really excited to be able to do this again and start season 2 again. And I wish all of you a happy new year. And I hope you can stick with me through this long recording. But it's a jump off, and episode 2 will be tomorrow. Happy New Year. And I am so looking forward to 2024, y'all. And join us next time. If you have any questions, email me too, katie@meanstreetoh.com. Or if you have anything to add, like, hey, I ran into this person, or hey, I talked to Hava, she's nuts. You know what I mean? Because I mean, this is still affecting me. That I was at a tea party meeting a few months ago, and this guy is giving this presentation. I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is Ohio policing strategy. She's still up and kicking. You know what I mean? She is still around. I want these grifters to give Ohio a chance and go away for good. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I think just doing what I'm doing now and speaking out to all of you is the best way possible. But stay focused, and thanks for listening to me. I'll talk to you soon, Ohio. Bye. Thank you for joining me today on Mean Street. I hope you enjoyed the show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. You can support directly underneath at the Spotify donations, or you can directly give a donation at paypal.me/meanstreetohio. Any donation received will help me continue to provide news to you and everyone else across Ohio and beyond. I love what I do, and I just hope to continue to do it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.